Managing interior moisture and providing good indoor air quality are important keys to building energy-efficient homes. An important key to good indoor air quality is providing controlled ventilation. Now, there are two types of ventilation systems. We have spot ventilation systems like kitchen and bathroom exhaust fans that every home should have. And we also have controlled ventilation systems that have the capacity to even provide continuous ventilation if necessary to provide adequate ventilation to the home. Now, with me today is Farrell Bodone, who's a ventilation expert for Panasonic. Now, Farrell, tell me what to look for when we buy an exhaust fan, because fans are an important part of providing good indoor air quality.
You're right. And Steve, the first thing you look for in a quality fan is one that is super quiet. It's a fan that people will use.
Yeah, I guess if they're noisy, people won't use them. So let me plug this one in here. That is pretty quiet. Now, how much air does this move? It's quiet, but does it move a lot of air?
It does move a lot of air. This is a 90 CFM fan, and it's only 0.7 zones, and that's the kind of combination that you're looking for in a quality fan, one that moves a good amount of air for the least amount of noise.
Now, what would a typical fan generate in terms of noise versus its airflow output?
Well, a standard fan, typical fan, is going to be about 4 times noisier and 4 times less energy efficient.
Wow.
So you get a lot more bang for your buck in a quality fan that has these two features.
Now, I notice when you look at this right away, I guess one of the issues of efficiency is the type of motor that it has. And I notice instead of having a blade, this actually, to move air, this actually has a squirrel cage type blower motor, much like you'd find in a furnace.
Right. The motor-blower combination is part of what produces the energy efficiency and the quietness. You're having fewer revolutions per minute to move more air. What you are looking for is a split capacitor, continuously runtime rated motor that you can run continuously for indoor air quality management without burning out the motor.
Farrell, in addition to a good motor, it's important to have a good damper system. Now, I notice this damper looks a lot different than the typical plastic dampers that I see on most bathroom exhaust fans.
Absolutely. The damper is a critical part of the fan because you don't want any unplanned holes, and you want it to be completely open when the fan is running. So you want a sealed, weighted damper.
And the idea behind that is that when the fan turns on, the damper opens, and when the fan shuts off, you're sure that it's going to close completely.
Exactly.
Now, I also noticed that this unit uses, or you can buy units with compact fluorescent lights. This is great because they use about 1/4 the energy and they last about 10 times as long.
You got that right, and it also has the benefit of meeting the Title 24 requirements for energy-efficient illumination.
Now, what about installation? I suppose it's extremely important if you're going to put in a fan like this to install it right if you expect it to move the kind of air you need to.
That's half the picture, and a quality fan really is dependent on a quality installation to get the optimum installed performance. In installation, first of all, you want the right size fan. Then you want to have a duct that's sized properly for the fan. So this, for example, is typical in new construction. It requires a 4-inch duct. Ideally, you're using a duct that is rigid or has a smooth inside surface, so you have no obstruction to the air movement.
Not much friction loss.
Not much friction loss, exactly.
And you want to vent it up through the roof as opposed to out through a soffit or somewhere like that. Always through the roof, vertically if possible, correct?
Well, vertically or out through the wall, but ideally, I mean, absolutely, you want it to be through the roof or through the wall because you want the moist air and the stale air out of the building.
Yeah, and talking about that, I suppose it makes sense to talk a little bit about indoor air quality. You know, homes have a lot of moisture in them. Bathrooms, for example, the reason we have mold and mildew growing in our showers is because typically the relative humidity is high.
That's right, and that's why you need spot ventilation and mechanical ventilation, particularly in tight construction, because you're moving out the moisture at the location where it's occurring. And it's a good idea to run your fan for about half an hour.
Now, any other issues that we want to be thinking about as far as indoor air quality and continuous ventilation?
Well, your baseline measurement is easy because you can get an Energy Star rated fan, which gives you certainly the HVI characteristics, heating and ventilating characteristics of quality fans in terms of zones and wattage. And if you use an Energy Star branded fan, which this one is, you're going to assure yourself of those qualities.
Whether it be a continuous or spot ventilation?
That's correct. Right. And this is a dual-purpose fan. That's what you want in a good fan, too, that do the spot ventilation as well as your continuous ventilation.
Yeah, it probably makes a lot of sense to, if you're going to do spot ventilation, to separately switch this from the light so that when people take a shower or whatever, they leave, they can turn off the light, have a timer switch so this can run continuously to ventilate the moisture.
Right. You should look at the controls to match your lifestyle, but it's a good idea to separate your functions. So that if you have a fan and a light combination, you operate the ventilation component, the exhaust component, separately from the lighting, because that's what you want to have continuously running.
Well, Farrell, great advice. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Steve, for having me.